Lesson 43 is about the least common multiple and the least common multiple of algebraic expressions. Now the first question we have is a bit of review. What we want to do is find the least common multiple, LCM, of 3 and 4. Now remember, the least common multiple means we're going to have to multiply to find our answer. And the way we can do this, we can skip count always to find our answer. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, and so on. 4 would be 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, and so on. And when we compare these lists, we're looking for the first number that happens in both lists. So we can see there's a 12. So the least common multiple of 3 and 4, that must be equal to 12. And we've got our final answer. Now you probably knew that ahead of time. Okay, you could probably look at 3 and 4 and know that the least common multiple is 12. That's good. Let's go ahead and look at another example. Let's find the least common multiple of 8, 15, and 100. Now these numbers are a little bit bigger. When the numbers are bigger, what we want to do is we want to find the prime factorization of each number. So for 8, we're going to use a factor tree, and 8 can be broken into multiples of 4 and 2, or factors of 4 and 2. 4, that can be broken down into 2 and 2. We have our prime factorization of 8. It is 2 times 2 times 2. Let's box it. For 15 we have, well, 15 is made up of 5 times 3. And we've got our prime factorization of 3 times 5. How about 100? 100. That is made up of, well, we could say 10 times 10. Remember, it doesn't matter what our first branches are. We always come up with the same answer in the end. 10 is 2 times 5, and 10 is 2 times 5. So what we get is 2 times 2 times 5 times 5 when we put it in numerical expression, in numerical order. So, if we look at this to find the least common multiple, we want to say, where do we have the most 2's being multiplied? Well, we have 3 2's here being multiplied. No 2's, 2 2's. So to find our answer, we're going to multiply the 3 2's. How about 3's? Well, we have no 3's, 1 3, 0 3's. So we're going to have to choose this 3. How about 5's? We've got 1 5, 0 5's, 2 5's. So we're going to have to choose the 2 5's. Now the way we get to our least common multiple this way is going to be to say 2 times 2 times 2 from the 8, the 3 from the 15, and the 5 times 5 from the 100. We know 2 to the third power is 8. We're going to have 8 times 3 is 24. And we know 5 times 5 is 25. So what we have is 24 times 25. We can go ahead and figure out what we get when we multiply that. 24 times 25. It's going to give us our final answer, the least common multiple. 5 times 4, that's 20. We're going to carry our 2. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 2 more is 12. We've got 0 as a placeholder. 2 times 4 is 8, and 2 times 2 is 4. So when we look at this, 120 plus 480, we get our final answer of 600. So our least common multiple of 8, 15, and 100 is 600. We could have skip counted with these numbers, but it's going to take a long time to skip count from 8 to 600. Same thing with 15. It would take a long time to skip count to get to 600. So we can use the prime factorizations to help us to solve this a little bit more efficiently. Now, let's look at our next problem. We've got to find the least common multiple of 15a squared b and 10a b to the third. Now we're going to do this the same way that we did the last problem. First we have to find the least common multiple of 15 and 10. Well, if we skip count it, it'll be 15, 30, 45, 10, 20, 30. So the least common multiple of 15 and 10 is going to be 30. So we know part of our answer. Part of our answer is going to be equal to 30 and then something else. Now the way that we find the least common multiple of our variables is to list them out. A squared is just a times a, and then we have a times b. A times b to the third, so that's b times b times b. Now to find the least common multiple of our variables, we pick where it happens the most. So we can see the least common multiple of a squared and a must be a squared because it happens more on the left. So we're going to get 30 a squared, and then we've got b and b to the third. The least common multiple of b and b to the third must be b to the third. So we've got an answer of 30a squared b to the third, and we're all done. We can box our answer, and we can move on to the next problem. Next problem is to find the least common multiple of 154x squared m and 6x to the third m. So if we want to do that, we first need to find the least common multiple of our numbers. Let's use a factor tree. 154, well, that can be broken down into 77 times 2, because 77 is half of 154. 77, well, that's just 11 times 7. We now have our prime factorization, 2 times 7 times 11, and we can write it out. For 6, well, 6, that's an easy one. 6 must be 3 times 2. We can go ahead and write it out. We'd write it out numerically, so we get 2 times 3. Now we need to box these and figure out where each number happens the most. Well, you can see the 2 happens one time in both, so we can pick either. The 3 only happens with the 6. And the 7 and 11 both happen with the 154. So to find our answer, we're going to multiply 2 times 3 times 7 times 11. Now this one, let's go ahead and just multiply 2 times 7 times 11 because we know that that's 154. And we have to say 154 times 3 to find our final answer. 154 times 3, well, 3 times 4, that's 12. Let's carry the 1. 3 times 5 is 15, plus 1 more is 16. Carry the 1 again. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 more gives us 4. So we've got an answer of 462. That must be the least common multiple of 154 and 6. So we've got 462. Now we've got x squared and x to the third. X squared, x to the third. The least common multiple of those two must be x to the third power. And then we have m and m. Well, the least common multiple of m and m must just be m. So we've got our final answer, 462 x to the third m. With these problems, it's usually easier to find the least common multiple of our variables than it is of our numbers. So don't be intimidated by that when you look at these problems. All we have to do, find the least common multiple of our numbers, then the variables, put it together, and box your answer. Lesson practice will be on page 174. Make sure you've got your notes complete, and I'll see you during our next class.